Good evening, everyone. My name is Laura Schifrin, and I call the meeting to order of the Planning Board, January 9th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. Could I have a roll call vote, please? It's not a vote. A roll call, please, of the members present.
Carol Hofstas present.
Robert Therian present.
Pat Kalonchik. Andrew Shepherd.
And Laura Schifrin present. Would you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to thank all of our veterans and all of our emergency response people and all of those that are working to save those or put out the fires in California. And prayers going out to everybody there. The meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Town of Townsend YouTube channel. And is there anyone else in the audience or at home that may be online that is recording? I don't hear that anyone is. So, okay, and I do not have any additions or deletions. Okay, we'll go right to the 6:30 public hearing. And I'm going to open the public hearing now at 6:32 p.m. and have the board members introduce themselves.
Carol Hofstas.
Robert Therian.
Pat Kalonchik. Andrew Shepherd.
And Laura Schifrin. Has everyone signed the sign-in sheet from the public
Yes.
that is there? Okay. I'm going to read the legal notice now. In accordance with General Law, Chapter 40A 5, the Townsend Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Thursday, January 9th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. in the Selectmen's Chambers at Town Hall. The address regarding certain proposed amendments to the town zoning bylaw, Chapter 145 of the town code as follows. By deleting from Article 9 entitled Special Provisions, the entirety of Section 36 entitled Accessory Apartments in Residential District and substituting a new Section 36 therefore relative to the regulation of accessory apartments, aka accessory dwelling units or ADUs. 2, by adding Article 9 entitled Special Provisions, Section 42 entitled Site Plan Review Special Permits, subsection B, a new further subsection 3 stating that site plan approval, not a site plan review special permit, shall be required for accessory apartments by adding a new section 42.1 to add Article 9 entitled and establishing a process for site plan approval. And 3, by amending Article 9 entitled Special Provisions, Section 54.1 entitled Age Restricted Development, so as to reduce the acreage requirement for these developments to 1 acre to eliminate the requirement of a permanent conservation restriction to authorize the planning board to grant certain waivers. The complete text of the proposed amendments above is available to review in the Land Use Office at Town Hall, address above, during normal business hours or by emailing a request for digital copies to Beth Faxon, Administrative Assistant to the Planning Board, and her email address. Remote access is provided as a courtesy. Login credentials can be found at the Townsend website. You are invited to attend the public hearing and participate in discussion. Any person wishing to be heard should appear on the date and at the time and place designated. Comments may be sent to the board, Kara Beth Faxon, at the above town hall address or via email as foresaid prior to the date and time of public hearing. Laura Schifrin, Chair, Planning Board, and published in the Sentinel and Enterprise on December 26th and January 2nd, 2025. Okay. So now we would present the proposed zoning bylaw amendments. And Mr. Doyle, did you want to do that? Or have comments to that effect? That's the next part of the public hearing.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for joining us.
You are welcome. To sum these, to sum the amendment up, the purpose of this amendment up, the state legislature passed and the governor signed into law a new law allowing accessory dwelling units by right. Accessory dwelling units under and these limits are described in the in the amendment. Under 900 square feet, a single family, the owner of a single family home now has a right under state law to get a building permit for an accessory dwelling unit on their lot. And so what these basically the state deregulated accessory dwelling units. The current law, the town's current bylaw allows accessory dwelling units, but subjects them to a special permit. In your bylaw, you have what's called a site plan review special permit. Towns are no longer allowed to subject accessory dwelling units to special permits. They're now allowed by right. And so your existing accessory dwelling unit language is a dead letter. What is being proposed here is to re-regulate accessory dwelling units to the extent that is allowed under the new state law. This puts them under a proper traditional site plan review procedure. Even when a use is allowed by right, the community can still make it subject to site plan review. Because site plan review isn't deciding yes or no, are we going to allow this use in this location? Site plan review is about imposing conditions and standards and regulations on how something gets done that when somebody is allowed to do it. So this subjects them to site plan review. It establishes some standards and regulations for them. It takes the limits that were incorporated into the state law and sets them as the limits that are here in this law as well. And this is an attempt by the community to respond to the actions taken by the state, so that the planning board will retain some oversight over how these accessory dwelling units are built.
Okay. Okay, so next I'm going to do the mandatory referrals that we have received and read them into the record. We have from the Historic District Commission, a note that just says no comments at this time. We do have a note from the Board of Health, which was basically a typo that was caught, and that was that subsection 14536, section C4 refers to a section B4 that no longer appears to exist, and it doesn't. So we already made, well, town council did anyway, already made the note that that should have been removed. So that was his comment, and that's been done. We have from the building inspector, Beth, can you, oh, let's see, it's on the back. Sorry. One, you should classify the SPR under 145-42(1) as ADU site plan review, as it is easily confused with special permit. I thought from what you just said, we had it clarified.
Um, I didn't see the, could you read that language again? I think she might read that language again.
Okay, this came from the building commissioner.
Mhm.
And it said, you should classify the SPR, so special permit review, I think that means.
Site,
Un- Well, it says SPR in his, I'm reading what he wrote.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
Okay. Under 145-42.1 as ADU site plan review, as it is easily confused with special permit.
Yes, what we did to distinguish them, what I did to distinguish them in the law is use the language site plan approval as opposed to your old site plan review. That was the language effort we did to distinguish them.
Okay. And I also think that town council may have responded to that that we have done it that correctly. And Beth, correct me if I'm wrong, when I say that. But I'll go on, and so that is, I'll go on now to his second comment. Section 145-36B1. What is the PB, which I think is planning board, thought process on the way they need to be involved in an SPR, special permit review?
I
I
think they
guess
must mean site plan review.
site plan review. Oh, okay. When it's in addition to the footprint or height, I think this is more red tape than needed. Sounds like they are making a law designed to be easier, harder on the applicant. If you put an addition or a second floor without an ADU, you are subject to an SPR. Because this is only for ADUs, it could be considered showing favoritism towards people not putting in ADUs. I understand possibly an SPR for detached use, the parking and access reasoning, but see no reason for attached ADU SPR.
Okay. Yes, this, the board recalls, one of the most substantive conversations that we had to have in the drafting this is what needs to be covered by site plan approval and what doesn't. And work within the footprint of the building, it wasn't subject to site plan review. Well, work not that was an addition or the construction of a new accessory building was going to be subject to site plan review.
Robert, do you want to comment?
Okay,
Because
so
we did have long discussion about if it was interior versus exterior.
so in considering all these things, we have to think about the different situations that could occur. So if you had a single family home and you had a garage already there, that would be one situation, and that would be allowed by right.
Attached or detached?
Huh?
Attached or detached?
That would be a detached building. Then there's the option of adding on to an existing building. And there's the potential of somebody using their basement or their attic as an additional ADU unit. So the statute that's been prepared here for you to review and for us to consider is trying to be flexible enough to accommodate all those situations. In all situations, any applicant is entitled to any of those uses or applications, provided it meets a site plan review. So site plan reviews incorporate questions and concerns about how it's going to work with the community. So there are parameters there about parking spaces, setbacks versus a new building versus an existing building. So this has been designed to provide what the governor has promoted and this board supports, okay? However, to still have town input as to how it can be done. And that's basically what it is. So this board, for example, or cannot deny anybody a use, but they can reject a proposed plan. Okay, that's basically what we're all trying to say here. And
Or
and
place
why
some
these-
conditions, yeah. Or place some conditions,
right.
right?
So
Thank-
that's why you have different language here, so that the public as well as this board has some guidelines as to how to go about that.
Okay, thank you, Robert. I appreciate that. The next comment came from the Highway Department or lack thereof. They had no comment. And then we have a referral back from Conservation, which does not have a comment. And then we have a comment back from Board of Selectmen, which states, please check the reference. Oh, okay, we took care of the first one, 3D in the ADU bylaw. 2, I have a concern about the density in the 55 plus bylaw. 3, what is the deed language for 55 plus units? Are they in perpetuity? And 4, please add an affordability clause to 55 bylaw. First off, we did get legal counsel advice on this, and or planning did, and then on the purpose of tonight's meeting is what the legal notice said, and that would not be to add the affordability clause. Okay, so that's not even can be considered at this point in time. Mr. Doyle, would you like to handle the any feedback on the other comments? Did you want me to do them one at a time?
Yeah, go back to the ones that weren't 50 about the 55.
Yeah, I have a concern about density in the 55 plus bylaw.
I haven't been involved in the 55 plus bylaw.
Well, the language that we're putting in for 55 and the age restricted, or there is no age in the bylaw.
Madam Chair, would you like me to read what
Yes,
Town Council offered?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Mhm.
So regarding density, as noted, no density changes are proposed, so a density discussion may be beyond the scope of the proposed bylaw revisions. The age-restricted development bylaw does not require a recorded age restriction. I defer to the planning board regarding addition of an affordability clause to the age-restricted development bylaw, however, likely beyond the scope of this provision.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, Robert.
I just want the public to be aware of a couple of things here. One, prior to the governor's order on this board already was looking at accessory use revisions in the current bylaw. The subject of age units, a restricted development, and affordable developments have their own sections in our bylaws now. This is exclusively to allow people, single-family home owners, to have the right to have accessory units unrestricted by other prior statutes, okay, that link to affordable housing and link to aging and link to just exclusively for family use. So this modification here has been done addressing those things. And some of those things were pre-existing before the governor's action. And so we, as a board here, removed sections of the older bylaw that had requirements that were linked to fair housing and other statutes. So this really makes this a lot simple. It benefits the public. And again, these other topics, affordable housing and fair housing, do not apply with this
Not to the
AD.
ADU. They
Right.
don't. I agree with you completely.
Okay.
However, there's
I just want to
Thank-
make that
also
clarification.
wording for
Okay,
age
thank you. Just a minute, I'll get to public comment in a minute. I have one more. Well, no, those were the mandatory votes for, okay, I have one more other comment, I guess. So, okay, so now I have, a written response that came in, and then, I'll get to those who are in attendance. The written response that came in was, are we sure that the site plan light, I'm not sure if this is right, but it's LITE, light approach meets the as of right standard? And then two, do you want to answer each one of these?
Okay, let me say yes. Let me address that. I can't say that I am 100% sure because the state is still formulating its guide and revising its guidance. I attended a webinar about the from the state about these revisions, and one of the points that they made was that they didn't want, and this is relevant to the comments from the building commissioner as well. They did not want stricter requirements placed on accessory dwelling units than on the single family homes themselves. Okay. Now, so that very clearly means you can't say that a single family home can be has a minimum front yard setback of 40 feet and an accessory dwelling unit at 60 feet or things like that. You can't substantively impose stronger requirements like that. Now, the question about it was a little ambiguous what they meant about site plan review. Site plan review is allowed for things that are allowed by right. And in the planning board's decisions, they wouldn't be able in site plan review. They wouldn't be able to impose conditions that that go beyond what owners of single family homes can do. But having a site plan review procedure that doesn't impose greater conditions and is reviewing to make sure that the design and everything is consistent with how single family homes are built, and holding them to the same conditions would be, and just making sure that the site plan is okay and meeting all the standards. I think that would be allowed. But like I said, I can only say this to a certain degree of confidence because the state itself is only is still formulating their own interpretation and still taking comments on it. I think so. I think that as this was written, it would be okay. Has the town council weighed in on this particular question?
I think I'll ask Beth that, but I think that we all discussed this in the other public meetings that we had. That the fact was that the real solid guidelines won't be down until the state does their mandates. And no matter what we have, we're going to have to follow what their mandates are.
Yes. Yes.
So that's basically what the discussion has been from my recollection.
Yes.
Anyway, let me get through this, two more statements here. The drawing requirements seem to exceed the desired affordable goal, just like the Title V requirements. I think a lighter drawing requirement would suffice in most cases. No. I'm not sure what is meant.
Yeah, the requirements that for the drawings that you're requiring, I believe they're addressing that and saying, oh, do they really need a certified architect's drawings at scale and everything for just this site plan review? Well, the drawings that they're being required for the site plan review, they're no more strict than what they're going to be required for their building permit anyway.
Right. Exactly.
So it's not like a separate cost and hurdle is being imposed here on them that they aren't already facing by your site plan review. The requirement to have these drawings drawn up.
Okay, good point. Good point. And then the last comment here was the part about disability should provide for future access since it will happen to most of us. I keep thinking about this and we'll keep you posted. I don't know. That's public comment.
Yeah.
Okay. For the next part, I think that's just a comment. For the next part, Carol, can I have you take over, please, which would be now at the public questions. I'm going to relate to the chair.
This is the time for the public questions.
Can I just
Yes.
add more to this so that maybe we can offset a lot of questions from the public?
Okay, 5 minutes.
Okay. So the bylaw that we've worked together to develop here basically allows up to 900 square feet. So in the different situations and in terms of site plan review, suppose you have a property that has a garage that is right on the property line. And the individual wants to, that garage only has 450 square feet. And he wants to get the benefit of 900 square feet. So he wants to use the garage and add on to the garage to get the full 900 feet. So that would bring questions about setbacks for the new addition. It would bring questions about the distance between the existing house and the detached garage unit. So all of that is incorporated in our bylaw, and and makes those applicants subject to site plan review. Also included in that bylaw that we're proposing is, so that gives you an idea of what the site plan would be about, the review would be about. And also within that, there is language there about the trying to maintain the architectural styles of the existing buildings. So, that language has been incorporated here. So for planning boards and anyone doing a site plan review would have those things to consider and to make recommendations or changes or even deny a specific proposed layout. So it's not denying the right, it's saying that that doesn't work for what our intentions are. So I just wanted everybody to understand what the roles of this board or future boards would be. And everything else that has been stated is already covered by building codes, and what you need for a permit. So other than that, it's no different than getting a building permit for your home. And so that gives this board some latitude as to what could or what would be better or not better on a particular applicant's proposal.
Thank you, Robert.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I can entertain comments from the public now. Who wants to go first?
I'll go because I'm the one that wrote the comments from the select board. Only my first comment applied to the ADU bylaw, the 3D or whatever, that reference that went nowhere.
Yeah.
The rest of them were for the age-restricted development. So we're not talking about the age-restricted development at this moment, are we?
No.
Okay, so the other 3 comments about the in perpetuity, etc., were on the age-restricted, not on the ADU. The ADU, I'm good with.
Okay.
I like
We're
the,
only talking about ADUs.
yeah, okay. So just to make that clear. So I do have a question for Beth about what town council said when it went to age restricted. But we'll talk about that with the next.
Yeah, that's a separate subject.
And it is.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
This may sound silly because I don't understand everything that's going on. I understand some things. Now, the ADUs, are we talking about like one ADU per property?
Yes,
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
per single family dwelling.
Oh, okay, that's kind of
All right. So we discussed that because I wanted clarification.
right.
So if there was a building on a property now that was a duplex, is that 1 or 2 families?
Good question.
All right, so we had to work that out. And it's only one, that's considered one building, only one ADU could be allowed. Because we're talking about buildings versus ownership. Okay, so we
Yes.
have to address that in terms of condos and apartments and everything else.
Mr. Boyle, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this up. The way the law is written is that you can only have one ADU per primary residential structure. Okay, so I'm sorry. By right, the town must allow people with a primary residential structure to have one ADU by right. Towns have the option of making a second ADU by special permit, or banning second ADUs altogether, or making them also. It's that there on multiple ADUs. The town has a lot of flexibility, and the town here is choosing to only allow one. One interesting quirk here is, according to this, this still being developed guidance, The ADU bylaw isn't limited to single-family homes, and the owner of a 2 or 3 or multifamily home could also have the right to produce one accessory dwelling unit. We'll see where that ends up. But it might be, imagine somebody has a 3-decker and there's a garage in the back, and they can add a unit in the garage by right. Not sure really this is something that's going to come up in Townsend, but might come up in some of our communities.
As this has been prepared now,
Uh-huh.
that option is not available.
Yes, yes, the town's bylaws limits this to single families, owners of single family homes.
Thank you. Any more questions? No? Is there anyone online that needs to ask a question? If there's no further questions or against, okay, then do I need to make a motion to close the public hearing?
May I make one further point?
Yes.
Looking over this document and reviewing it and everything, I think it might benefit from one further minor change. In your existing definitions section, you have a definition for accessory apartments. Just give me a moment here. It reads your very first definition under accessory use or building, you have A, accessory apartment. A distinct portion, and you have your definition. It's a perfectly good definition. Where we've been using accessory dwelling units, perhaps add language amending 145.5 to make that read accessory apartment or accessory dwelling unit, just to make that clearer to read.
Yeah, and you might want to define accessory dwelling unit. Just saying, right?
In the language of the ADU section,
Yep.
it says accessory dwelling units, also known as accessory apartments. So it sets it up that the bylaw is going to go back and forth between the two terms. I
Okay.
think that therefore having both of those terms in that heading will just be that make it that much clearer.
Definitely
That's
recommend that.
that's my input.
Can you just clarify? It took me a minute to get to the right document. What document you want to make that change to? You think it would be-
In the zoning your zoning is 145, and 145.5 is word uses and definitions.
Yep, section 145.5.
And then the very first thing you have under it is accessory use or building, and you have four definitions here. Accessory apartment, affordable accessory apartment, floor area, pre-existing building. I would turn that first one where it now says A, accessory apartment, to read A, accessory apartment or accessory dwelling unit, to show that they're the same thing.
The confusion here is accessory unit. So that when you say an accessory building,
I'm not saying building.
It doesn't necessarily, or an accessory use does not necessity mean an apartment or a dwelling unit. And
Yes.
that's where this is coming from.
Yes, and I'm looking at the one that specifically says accessory apartment.
Mhm.
So it's already talking about the dwelling unit.
Or can't we just eliminate the term apartment?
The reason at the last meeting we decided not to do that, not to hunt through the entire document and turn every accessory apartment into accessory dwelling unit, and that the better way to handle that was just the language that we have now that says accessory dwelling units or accessory apartments, and just make it clear that the two are synonymous. And so this is in keeping with the decision that the board made last time.
Joe, I think that's a fine idea. I'm just trying to wrap my head around what the motion we're going to make would be to make that change. But that would be, right now, I'm not
Okay,
seeing it in.
you know what? I will, when we end this conversation, I will type up an email and send it to Beth that will have that language so you can look at it.
Yeah, and you can make your motion in your deliberations after the public hearing.
Okay.
I can help you with that.
Thank you.
And can I ask something, Karen? So that will be part of Article 17 in the special town meeting. It'll be the definition change and the ADU change, correct?
Correct.
There's no special permit here.
Did I say special permit? I said the definition
Definition
change and the ADU bylaw change would be part of Article 17,
Correct.
which is just because we've already approved the warrant.
Yeah.
Waiting for language, and that wasn't part of it.
That is
Yeah.
correct.
Okay,
Very common. Very common. Yeah.
okay, good.
Administrative. Yep.
Okay, last,
I just have a question. So are you ending, like, the hearing and then you're gonna be asking everybody to leave after this, or how does that work?
I have another hearing.
Don't you have another hearing for like the age restricted development and everything? I mean, don't you have two more points or at least one more point to go? The age restricted development about the acreage.
okay, all right.
We had two topics.
Okay, then, all right, then we go to,
So we're specifically on the ADU, right?
right now, we're on the ADUs, yes. Then the age restricted comes, okay.
You're correct. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem.
Yep, you are correct.
Thank you for your comments.
All right, so now we want to go to the. Do I have to? No, I just can keep going to the age restricted.
No, I think you have to close the hearing, don't you?
Yes. Is everybody on page here? We've completed the ADU topic? Okay.
Okay. So is that true, Beth? I could close the public meeting?
No,
Did you know you want to discuss any public comment on age restricted amendments? Just ask
Okay.
for a public comment on that topic.
Okay,
I think we should read that section.
The whole 2 pages?
Just- okay.
It's 3 pages.
All right, I can read this. This is from the legal notice. And this is to let everybody know what we're talking about. By amending Article 9 entitled Special Provisions, Section 54.1, entitled Age Restricted Development, so as to reduce the acreage requirement for these developments to 1 acre, to eliminate the requirement of a permanent conservation restriction, and to authorize the planning board to grant certain waivers. The complete text of the proposed amendments above is available for review in the land use office and So, basically, we're reducing from 2 acres to 1 acre.
So let me discuss this a little bit with people. Our zoning bylaw allows an exemption to the regular bylaw designed for age-restricted use. The intent of that bylaw, which was passed years ago, was to provide an accommodation for older people in our community, and to make it a cost, incentive program to keep our older citizens in town. So that was the premise that was presented at the original town meeting where this bylaw was even adopted. So at that time, it was established certain criteria for a developer in being allowed to use that right or use that use. What's happening here now is asking the community to reduce that standard from 2 acres to 1 acre. Okay. In other words, increasing the density that would be allowed. When we talk about that, you always have to bear in mind that all the other standards from the health department and water and sewer and building departments still apply. Okay. So what we're talking about primarily is density allowed. Okay. And so in the social climate today, we're trying to encourage as much housing as possible. And so this article is being prepared for the town so that they can increase housing for that use, increase the number of units for age-restricted development. So that's what this is all about. And I don't think there's anybody, I think our board finds it a very favorable approach to do, one that could be beneficial for the town and for the need for more housing. It also helps in regard that the town has to provide so many housing units as a quota or as an incentive. So I'm not quite sure of the statute on that.
There isn't one on that. There's MBTA communities, and that's different from this.
Yeah,
That requires a certain number. Since there's no affordability built in here, it doesn't apply to the quota required for affordability. So
Thank
what
you,
we said
Veronica.
is
Yeah,
not true.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay.
She's the authority of that, okay?
Okay. All right, so then we could go turn to questions on the age restricted.
I do have a comment. For one, as far as the acreage, my husband was on the Board of Health in the 90s, and he's talking about different things, and I talked to him about this, and he feels 1 acre is not adequate enough for a septic. And if it ever failed, you have to have room for it. And he was trying to remember the terminology, room for expansion or backup or something.
But it has to meet the Title V requirements.
Right, but there's a certain, so he was on the Board of Health and he knew all that, he knows all that stuff, and he just said that's not enough room for adequate septic.
So I have a tight tank, but that's all right.
I don't know, but I'm just saying what,
It's another conversation.
he used to talk about it, all the time, that stuff, and so that was my concern, one of my concerns. And as far as the, I don't remember the word, I just want to refer to it. Eliminate the requirement of a permanent conservation restriction. What does that allude to?
Well, it from my perspective or my understanding, this is simply to allow that possibility to happen. Okay. And all the other requirements from all the other departments and boards would still have to apply. All right. What this does is allow the right to have that many units in that group and that classification. It doesn't mandate that they can happen because they're all subject to other regulatory requirements. So everything about conservation, everything about would still have to apply on a site plan that would be proposed to this board and as well as to any permitting requirements. So in that regard, everything that we're accustomed to now is still going to be enforceable. we're really basically saying that if a project can meet all the other requirements and all the other boards and all the other people are looking at everything on a project, they can build that number of units based on the acreage they're working with.
Can I comment?
Yes, you may.
I have several comments, but since we're on the CR, I was on the planning board when this was introduced to the town as a bylaw, and it was 5 acres.
I'm sorry?
It was 5 acres.
It was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was modified down to 2. I think we even started with 10, but it came down to 5, then to 2. And so I'm good with removing the CR on 2 acres. A CR really doesn't make sense. On 5 to 10 acres, it would, but on 2 acres, it doesn't. So that's my CR comment. I'm good with that going away. On the things that Laurie read, that Beth commented on, one of the comments was I had a concern about the increase of density. I don't support going to 1 acre on this. And it is an increase in density, even though apparently town council said it wasn't. So Beth, were you talking about ADUs when you were talking about this with Adam, or were you talking about the age restricted? That's first question. Second question is, I wanted to know if this was deed restricted in perpetuity, what makes it age restricted? And what I heard Beth say was nothing. There's nothing that makes it age restricted. And if that's the case, I think this needs amended again. And I don't know that this should go to the board because it means that we are creating quite the density for non-age restricted.
I agree with Veronica here, and this board has experienced a lot of this type of applicants recently. And not only these applicants have not complied with what we currently have, but asked for more relief on that. And I have a very tough time with that situation. And only because when it was presented to the town, those were established as the minimum requirements, just like Veronica is saying. That's what we decided. They reduced it again. And so I look at that as a minimum standard this town would have set. So, so that subject is applied right now to age-restricted projects, okay? Which implies that those structures will be designed to accommodate a specific profile. And that profile of the individual, what it was planned for, who we were trying to accommodate, should be evident in the applicant's application, not just as a house or a unit. That it's a unit that we're allowing to happen with relief from our regular bylaw for a specific profile, which is people over 55. So that's...
Robert, I think
Yeah,
Carol's
thank
cutting
you.
off.
Madam Chair, may I just respond? I know Ms. Kell asked about what town council wrote. And he basically said that he defers to the planning board regarding density, which the planning board has discussed in numerous meetings. And he also says that no density changes are proposed. If you look at the table in the age-restricted bylaw, the density hasn't been changed. The size of the acreage has been is proposed to be reduced. So that's where the density discussion, he states, may be beyond the scope of this hearing. So again, this has been discussed in multiple planning board meetings, and he also does say that yes, the age-restricted development bylaw does not require a recorded age restriction. That is a fact. And then the affordability clause, he also mentions that he defers to the planning board. However, as Mr. Therian noted, it was discussed many times over many board meetings, and it's likely beyond the scope of the proposed revisions here tonight. Does that answer your questions, Kath?
Yes, that answers my question.
I'm a little.
Does that create more confusion?
It doesn't create more confusion for me. I understand exactly what, it just means that we either need to come forward with a inclusionary zoning bylaw that requires either a payment for affordability or a unit that is affordable, some sort of unit proposal on that. We don't have inclusionary zoning in this town. So, so it's that.
Personally, yeah.
And there is the option to allow it in our bylaws, but it's never been invoked by the planning board.
Right.
On open space and multifamily developments, it's provided. Age restricted is a little bit different. I have a concern if our age restricted bylaw is not age restricted. It means that what we're doing is not what the intent of this bylaw was.
I agree.
And so
Yep.
I would not change anything here. I wouldn't change the minimum lot size. I wouldn't. Because it means that, yeah, you can still have 4 units per 1 acre. So yeah, but I'd rather it were on a bigger space. You have more opportunity for number 6, the common open space in the development. If you have common open space if you have a 1 acre lot, that you have to leave 30% of it open and 25% of that can't be wet. Okay, and we do have a lot of wetland in this town. You're looking at just under 3/4 of an acre where you could potentially put 8 units in 1 acre. That's not so good. So I would leave it as 2 acres because then you would be 30%.
But it may not be a good use of that land. I'm sure a developer would have a really hard time to
I don't
decide it
know.
appropriately.
I don't know.
Mhm.
I spent time on the planning board.
Yeah, they
And
could push
conservation, and
whatever.
you'd
You
be
could
amazed at what can happen.
I agree with you.
So I wouldn't change this, and if it's not age restricted, if there's nothing that compels age restricted, I think we need to look at the whole thing altogether.
I agree with you. I think it requires more work.
You mind just, could you mind if I share just a little bit of what town council said that I think pertains to what Veronica is mentioning?
Okay.
So, it sounds like in 2020 or 2021 was when, from the planning board, that's when that decision took
Yes.
place. What I have, Beth, you can correct me, but the email I'm reading from Adam is he said that these bylaws are typically now referred to, he does say the title is a misnomer, the name of it, but age-oriented or age-targeted bylaws, but not age-restricted. And he says that the existing age-restricted development bylaw does require age-appropriate design, limits bedroom count, etc., which does make it structurally less likely that these developments will become overrun with families. Again, and then he says these decisions weren't his. They're from the planning board back in 2020 or 2021. So
Exactly.
there's a structural component that limits it.
But you can put 10 people in a bedroom. I mean, you can.
Mhm. Yeah.
So.
You can.
Yes.
Put 20.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
That's funny, right? But, so I just have a concern about that.
Right. Amy, you had a question?
Oh, I'm just trying to get a handle on this. Now, we're talking age restricted. We're talking about moving it from, I still would like to see it 2 acres at least just judging by everything I've always heard all these years about septic systems. And also, I've been talking with different people as far as, about a building going on in the surrounding communities. I spoke with a gentleman from Chelmsford, and he's like, yeah, I'll move out. It's like the acreage, they're 1 acre and for their building lots and their regular building lots in Chelmsford and stuff. And it's like, you won't believe how much building, it's like, it's unbelievable, he said. I know people who are moving away, they start out one spot.
Oh, yeah, I used to live in Chelmsford and I was there recently, and it's like not 1 square inch of land that doesn't have both huge apartment buildings on it.
Right.
I mean, it's really lost a lot of its character.
And that's one thing I'm worried about, the future of towns and the integrity of towns, and all the documents I've read about the housing plan and the trust, whatever documents are out there, it talks about the keeping what makes Townsend Townsend. And that's what I'm really concerned about too. This is a beautiful place. I moved here from Dudley, which is very similar to Townsend. It's a great place to raise your family, and it should be a great place to retire as well. So but the thing is, I don't want it to see it lose its charm. You build on every square inch. What do you have? You're a mini city. That happened to Newton. I know someone who lives in Newton. That happened to Newton. I don't want to see us become a mini city trying to meet requirements and acreage and stuff everybody in. What's the point? You're losing the integrity of your town. And I feel very strongly about it.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else have comments?
Thank you.
Are we done? Anyone online have comments?
I do have one more comment.
Sure.
Okay. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
No, you go,
I'm
you
very
go right.
passionate about this.
You-
I appreciate everybody
you-
bearing with me,
You go
public
ahead.
as well as boards and everything. Okay, let's see how to phrase this.
I appreciate your comments.
Oh,
So go ahead.
thank you. I'm not trying to be personal or rude to anybody. I hope you appreciate, like, don't think I'm trying to, I just feel very passionate about this. And, I don't know what the answer is. I know that some towns have actually gone against state regulations and stuff because they don't want this to happen. Many people, many towns voted against CPA. When people voted the CPA in, they did not realize all the components. They just said, you're gonna see this happen and this happen. They didn't read the fine print. They did not read the taxes, for one. They didn't read the fine print about you need such and such per.
Okay, well,
building
we getting off
Oh,
topic
I'm
now.
sorry.
Yeah,
But my basic thing is,
Yeah, we're
Okay,
getting off
I'm
topic
sorry.
here. We're gonna
my
limit
basic
it
thing
to
about
the,
the building is, the acreage and stuff. I mean, I don't know if you need 10 acres per building. I'm not asking for that, but I just think there needs to be a limit.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Stay aboard. There's more of this coming. These are just 2 articles that we're considering here tonight. There are many more coming, so
We're on a roller coaster ride here.
yes,
Okay.
All right. So
So
thank you.
we need your input and we need,
From a housing trust standpoint, we have a 20-acre piece of property. And we only need 100 feet frontage, correct? So we could potentially put 160 units on that 20 acres. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Yeah, okay. So from an affordable housing standpoint, this is great. I mean, we could put 160, 25% of those are affordable, and the rest are market rate. That would be our max.
Yeah, when acres goes away, we're gonna need that.
Well, we are, exactly.
Would that beat the MBTA? community?
Close.
Close?
I think it's 175-ish.
Something like that,
Yeah,
yeah.
close. Okay.
So I just making sure I understand this. So you only need 100 feet of frontage, and after that, the density kicks in.
Yeah,
So
but
if we have
but
7 acres, which we do have, with no environmental restrictions, we could put 56 units on that.
and again, I think
Going to be
In
on the
that-
setback.
in that light, we have to look at our subdivision requirements here and how we're doing that. You
It's
know,
not a subdivision though, really.
they would be,
It's age restricted.
oh, yeah, you're right.
Alright, so, okay.
And age restricted isn't really age restricted because we don't restrict the age.
we only say it's intended
What's
for.
the word that he used?
I want to make one more comment if I could.
Age designated
I
or
was
something like
online
that?
for Montechusett, I forget what the name of the thing is, Montechusett something or other. And I was, online with Zoom, and, I know we have had an aging population, but this one lady, representative of one of the towns, did state now we have a baby boom bursting through the elderly. So at one point, we're having more babies born, and I have been researching that as well.
Okay.
So that is concerned, you're gonna have, you might have too much elderly housing, and all of a sudden,
Oh, yeah, no, that's, it's cyclical,
We're all
yeah.
gonna die off.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
But there's a baby boom. I mean, for a while, there weren't a lot of babies being born, and all of a sudden there are.
Yeah. Any more comments? Any more comments from the audience? Mr. Boyle, you look like you have one last comment.
Well,
You
yes,
good?
this discussion has sparked a couple of thoughts in my head.
Okay, go for it.
My first is this issue about this number of units being built. This discussion that just happened, where the member of the select board brought up the potential of one entrance and 160 units, brought up the issue of environmental protections. I don't remember. Does your site plan review special permit section, does that have triggers like based on numbers of units and impervious surface? If you're a certain number of units or a certain number of parking spaces, that triggers your site plan review. Because if there is a largish project like that, it triggers site plan review. Which allows some oversight about those things. It's not entirely. This is certainly something.
We would, you're not gonna get that density, but.
Doesn't it
but
require a
it's,
special permit?
It's a potential.
Yeah.
You have the potential for it.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. So yeah, it is important to that potential where something can be allowed but it's there's a special permit or a site plan review or something. One way to provide a little more assurance about these concerns is that the town can adopt standards within its zoning as standards for the issuance of that special permit, which become black and white language in your zoning that the planning board has to find and the planning board has to think about. So if there is that concern about that, that is one way to strengthen the language in this that the town might want to consider. And what was the other question? I think that was my major point. I would just like to say at the end of the meeting, there's a couple of other administrative things I'd like to talk to the board about that aren't directly related to what's on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
For me, everybody's no more comments? I'd like to, Beth, do I have to have a motion to close the public hearing, or can I just close the public hearing?
You should take a motion to close the public hearing formally.
Okay, could I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
I second.
Okay. Okay, can I take a roll call vote?
Robert Darian, yes.
Yes. Andrew Shepherd, yes.
And Carol Hofstas, yes. This closes the public hearing. And now we'll go into
Thank you for
our
coming.
session. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Have a good night. Which is Okay, Mr. Boyle, we're good. Oh, I think you're on mute.
So there we go.
Oh,
All
there
right.
you go.
I did send Beth that email with the language about adding that accessory dwelling unit.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay, so, if you wanted to look at Beth, do you have that to forward?
I'm looking at it right now. Hold on. I see. Yeah. Oh gosh. Got buried. Where did it go? Oh. Oh. Figures. Oh, 1 second. Okay, yep. I can put that on screen if you want. Or
Oh, you get ready to do it?
okay. Yeah, let me take care of that. Okay, everybody knows what they're voting on. All right, there you go. Oops. Going over.
So in section 145.5, word uses and definitions, add the words or accessory dwelling unit, ADU, after the title, A, accessory apartments. It'll now read A, accessory apartment or accessory dwelling unit, ADU.
That sounds fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
So move to,
Oh, I guess we have to make a motion to approve changing the definition of 145-5, add the words or accessory dwelling unit ADU after A accessory apartment.
so moved.
I second.
Okay,
Yes, spec one.
yeah,
Yes, Andrew, sure.
Yes.
and Carol Huff says yes. Okay, that takes care of that.
All right. My item 2 was the next year's DLTA applications are due in February. I wanted to talk to you about whether we were going to be working together again next year. I know we're still going to have the MBTA compliance application once it gets approved. Let's see, we're still waiting to hear.
Yeah.
We're still
I'm
waiting
sorry.
here on that PAG.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Madam Chair, could you finish the bylaw? There was another, I just didn't want to interrupt Joe, but back to the bylaw, there was another problem that was brought up in terms of, remember, there was
A bad reference to a 3B or something?
exactly. Can you guys vote to make that change, and can you point that out to the board so we're sure? Because the board is going to be finalizing their decision tonight, so I just want to make sure they have the right wording of what they need to delete. Do you recall? It's in the comments.
It says it's in the
Comments.
135-36 accessory dwelling units in residential districts.
Mm-hmm.
In paragraph C4, it's down 1, 2, 3, the third line down, it says, and could, as indicated by the report required in 4.B above. There is no B4. So,
Okay.
So I guess it should just say in accordance with the requirements of the Board of Health, period, and get rid of the words as indicated by the report required in B4 above.
Correct. Yeah. Does that sound good, Joe?
So,
So we lost you, Joe.
We just want to make sure we're doing the right thing.
I think so. Just give me one more moment.
Oh,
Okay.
sure. Thank you.
Yeah, take your time.
No, Are we in
I'm in,
D1?
okay, if I'm in 145-36, and if you go down to
Yep.
C4,
C4.
paragraph C4, and then if you go down to the third line, it says, by the report required in B.4 above.
Okay.
And if you go above, there is no B4.
Okay.
Stop it.
Where okay, so where does it require that report now? I see.
So I don't know, is there a report required, or can you just put a period at the end of the Board of Health? In accordance with the requirements of the Board of Health, period. I don't know what the report is.
Okay. If you remember, the report was these people going into the Board of Health and checking to see if their property was even was going to qualify under the state sanitary code. And the point there is that these are regular homeowners, and that's really like the big controlling thing. And we want them to have to know that they have to face that issue right up front immediately before they even get too far into this. And so and so it confronts them with with the need to look at the with the need to look at the to look at the septic and go in to talk to the Board of Health right from the beginning.
Okay, so do you need to add B4?
I don't know. No, the reference
No,
doesn't need. No, it does not.
Okay, so can we just?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to pull up.
I've got the 145-36 amendments up.
Yeah,
the clean-
thank you.
The clean copy, yep.
Okay. Now, this is.
Yes, it is cold.
Okay, so the one in the session.
Yeah.
Before above. Yeah, okay.
I just don't.
No, so the reference has now been put here in C4 itself. So yeah. Requirements from the Board of Health. Yes, I think that's right. I think just end with a period after Board of Health. There's no longer need to make any reference anywhere else because it's now in this section.
Okay.
Okay, so we need to make a motion to remove the reference to B4 above.
Yes.
I make the motion that we remove the reference to B4 in the statute.
How would you like the second? I'll second that.
All right.
Okay,
Great. Thank you.
and everybody voted yes?
Yes.
Robert Theron, yes.
Marcia, yes.
Patrick?
And Carol says yes.
And Laura Schifrin, yes.
Thank you.
Welcome back, Lori.
So yeah, if you would, do you want to finish, Joe? I'm sorry about that. I didn't,
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure that the technical stuff was addressed in the bylaws before.
Right, yes. All right, so what I was bringing up was the DLT application period is in February, and has the plan as what are we going to work? Have you been talking about what you would like, if anything, me to work on with you next year? Us, I should say us, MRPC.
Well, that is on
Yes.
the agenda for the 13th, if you'd like to come back.
Oh, okay, then we'll have that conversation on the 13th. Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
The 13th, wait, the which 13th?
Monday.
Monday the 13th?
January.
Oh,
Yeah,
Monday,
it's coming-
January. Okay. Oh, okay.
At
Yeah.
the next planning board meeting. Yeah.
Cool. I will at least join you by Zoom for that then.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Nice seeing you all. Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay, and all you guys got to do is vote to, if you have any other changes. If not, then approve what you have and you're all set.
Do we need to talk about the age restricted and whether we want to keep the 1 acre or go back to 2 acres, or how does that
I
work?
think we've.
I've already discussed it, but
We had a discussion on triggers, so.
Say what?
We had a discussion on triggers, so if a hypothetical developer wanted to build 56 units on 7 acres,
Okay,
wouldn't that trigger a site plan review?
okay,
I think we lost Joe, but that was my impression, but I guess we gotta double check that.
okay.
Yeah.
So we
So
can,
it's a concern, but not valid.
it's gonna be
Yeah,
voted on
because-
at the,
And this doesn't
Election.
change the Board of Health's requirements for septics. It
That's
just
right.
allows-
No, does not.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's not like I think the comment I wrote down was trying to build on every square inch. We're not going for that. That's
No.
not how it's
No.
proposed.
no, so, okay.
A 160 units would require a water treatment plant.
Oh, yeah,
That's not a
Yeah.
septic system.
yeah,
Those are
Yeah.
$3 million.
yeah, yeah.
You know, in those kind of things, the only place you're going to see it is if after you do the MBTA, whatever bylaw in that area, number one, there has to be town water. Number two, those I believe you will be adding the affordable units to. And three, you still have to go by Board of Health. If you can't get your sewage system in there for what you need for bedrooms or gallons or whatever it isn't going to happen. I think Robert was saying, whoever was saying before, you know, all the safeguards are in place via conservation, Board of Health, Water Department, that we don't have any control over.
Just look what's going on Cape Cod. The state is coming in and mandating they do this stuff with their septic and their water. All right? Cape Cod has a septic and water problem. The state has come in and compelled these towns to do it. So at any given time, that could happen. So
Yeah, but we
you know,
still have
we
other
can't
regulations.
just rely on what we have control of, because there are people who have greater control than we do.
So the state can mandate what? That we install a water treatment plant?
Yes. Just,
At that point, though, you got no control over anything else. I mean,
No,
well, again, we didn't have control of this MBTA thing either. And then I've been watching this, okay? And this governor has approved money to subsidize the developers to do this, okay? So that means that they're going to be making this happen. It's not going to be in the future or 20 years from now. There's a definitive pressure to do this now. So that's my anxiety. I'm not concerned about what our town has control of. I'm very upset about what the state mandates. And
Me
right
too.
now in this MBTA thing, it's being challenged constitutionally.
But I thought I heard that they lost.
I'm just reading. It came out yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm not
They did
aware.
lose. Milton lost.
Milton lost their case.
Milton lost.
Milton lost the case.
Yeah.
What they just talked about it in and Karen Chapman knows, they just talked about it in MRPC that and I'm not going to say the word right, promulgated their constitutional rights, the way they wrote what they wrote, because part of the thing is if you don't institute your bylaw, they can take your grants away and they can hold back money that you would normally get if you're not, adhering to their policies. That part of it, what the court did was they sent it back to the state and said, you have to reword how you're doing it, because Milton said that the way they were doing it was unconstitutional. The court said, just change your verbiage. And they're expecting to see something in 10 days back to
Really?
whatever their verbiage is that they're going to be using.
Madam Chair, would you please continue with the public hearing topic so I can go? I'm tired.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Carol. You did close the public hearing, right? Because I didn't hear that part. And so now
Correct.
we have
You just
we have
need-
to vote. We have
Yeah.
to vote.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Wait,
Carol.
I just want to ask a question, maybe to clarify, because I've been thinking about the four building commissioners' comments about he was delineating. I know we had a heavy discussion on setting it up such that if it's within the structure at all, it's by right. We don't even see it. Never comes to us. It's just regular building permit stuff. But if it's like, say, it's an addition, then it's our special permit review. But if you don't call it an ADU, it's just regular building stuff, building department permits. But then after you already built the addition, then you could just make it an ADU if you wish to. Is that an accurate interpretation? Because I think we're
Yeah, but
going.
I don't
No
understand that.
special permit at all. Yeah, there's no special permit. That's what I think we're getting caught up on. It's a site plan approval.
Site
It's not a special permit.
Doesn't mandate they build anything or make any improvements. They can take part of their house right now.
No, yeah, but I guess what I'm hearing the building commissioners say is, oh, sure. I guess the way I interpreted it was like, if, let's just say the person has decided that within the existing structure of their house, it's not a good fit for them. So they want to do an addition. Now, why come to us and say you're doing an ADU and then, add one more layer of go through the special, what do we call it? The special permit.
Site plan.
The
review.
site plan
no,
review process.
Just get a permit for a second story.
Yeah, just
never tell us.
get a building department permit and then just build the unit and then say, now I want to turn it into that and eliminate. That's kind of what I hear the verbiage. Now, as I think more about it, that's what I'm hearing the verbiage of what he said.
It sounds like the building official could probably put a stop to that. If you review the plans and you see like, hey, this looks like an ADU. You got a kitchenette here, you got an extra bedroom.
Yeah,
And
because
then he could refer it to us.
Yeah.
right, he's gotta
right.
know whether it's being built as an apartment or not.
They
Yeah.
did that to me.
Yeah, that's true.
Going through that.
So what do we have to vote on? Or what do we have left to vote on?
The wording of the bylaw that you're bringing to town meeting. The amendments that you
Yeah.
made some changes, the technical changes, the clerical changes were made. The addition, you already voted on the addition of the definition. So at this point, I would just recommend that you are in agreement with the wording of the amendments as they are.
That's in the legal notice? Is that what we're voting on?
I think we're voting on all of the documents that were before us.
Oh,
Correct.
oh, just
Yes.
just accept them in total.
Mm-hmm.
As
With
modified.
whatever changes or amendments you did.
Yeah.
And then it has to be approved so that it can go on the warrant, and the warrant will then be posted
Mhm.
as, and if for some reason something would come up or there was an amendment on the floor, or even if something is brought to the attention of the planning board that perhaps on the meeting floor, you might amend it. Someone from planning would amend it. Okay, but as long as the body is substantial, is the same, if there has to be a tweak, which is not substantial, it can be done on town meeting floor.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right, so what we're doing is what the planning board is recommending for the town to look at, is basically.
Correct.
And vote as a bylaw amendment.
Right.
And you can do them each individually, or you can do them all together, if however you want to make your motion.
Well,
We just moved to accept them all as
I
amended.
want to know where we stand with the, not the ADU component, but the other one.
The age restriction.
Yeah,
Do we We didn't make any more changes to that. did
We didn't make any changes.
Changes.
No changes in
No.
what we've already made.
Yeah, so what are we?
Right, so are we recommending the 2 acre change?
No,
If we accept it as is, it's with 1 acre. I
it would
believe.
be on 1 acre.
It's 1 acre.
1 acre, we're just gonna leave it.
Okay,
We had a large discussion before the change was made.
So we
In our-
want to accept them.
We
I
went
just
back
want
and
to know
forth.
what we're telling the town.
Move to
Because
accept.
remember again, the 1 acre is still whatever the Board of Health would approve for that lot. And I don't see it being, anything but like a sandy lot with town water. Sandy soil and town water. That's the only thing that's gonna get approved on an acre. Remember, you've got homes in quarter acre or 7,000 square feet is on Main Street and they have septic systems.
Right.
Okay.
So,
So you want to accept them as a whole,
I'm sorry?
do them all together?
Yeah, so
Yes, do them all together.
I move that we accept the proposed,
Amendments?
do we call them amendments?
As
Accept
bylaws.
the
Amendment.
bylaws as proposed and as amended. From today.
With the noted
Change it.
With the
changes.
notice?
Yeah. The noted changes, you can be specific
That's what I
if you
mean
want.
by as amended.
Okay, with the noted changes.
I second that.
Beck Electric, yes.
Andrew Shepherd, yes.
Robert Theron, yes.
And Carol Hoff says yes.
Laura Schifrin, yes.
Thank you.
See you guys Monday.
I know.
I love that.
God.
It doesn't have to happen during the meeting, but since we adjusted from 10 to 5 to 2, has that resulted in any meaningful change in the amount of multifamily or age-restricted units that we've had in town?
To my knowledge, only now last year was the first time any have ever been built.
Yeah.
So I've
Yeah.
been sitting on the lawn.
And we have one other that's almost approved, right?
Restricted? There's all three have been approved, yeah. So there are 3 age restricted developments approved and one's been built.
Right.
Yeah.
Do we wish to revisit the actual requiring of an age restriction opposed to like kind of structural encouragement of age restriction?
At this time, no. If you want to do that at Springtown meeting, that would be a good time to do that.
Just for a board meeting in the future.
Oh, in a board meeting, we could certainly have a discussion again.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So anything else? Can we make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh. Robert's thinking, I can see his wheels
It's-
spinning.
I just wanted-
saw his wheels.
I just wanted to know,
8:03.
I wrote a letter to the Board of Selectmen, to this planning board. Have they received it?
I'm sorry?
I don't know.
What was this question? Can I answer it?
Yes, did you get a letter written from Robert?
I did, Robert, and that is on the agenda for the 13th on Monday,
Okay.
okay? Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Now we can adjourn.
Okay.
Is that a second?
Oh.
And everyone?
Okay.
is